President Donald Trump personally tweeted recently saying, "I am not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which are not money, and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air."
Because the bankers effectively run our world, they've created a society in which they cannot lose. American banks only have to back up investments, or loans, with a cash reserve ratio of 10%. This means with an American savings account for $10,000, the banks get a present of $90,000. In the European Union, the reserve requirement is even lowered to 1%, so European financial institutions could even invest $990,000 for $10,000. And this is probably why Great Britain never took part in the euro. The Great Britain has a 0% cash reserve ratio. In this way, the European colonial forces still rule the USA. The European banks are 10 times more powerful than their American counterparts. On the other hand, Brazil has a reserve requirement of 45%, so with $10,000 Brazilian banks can invest only $12,222. In 1978, Turkey had a reserve requirement of 62.7%, so with $10,000 Turkey could only invest $5,949. I'll illustrate this with some examples. You deposit $10,000 on a savings account at an interest rate of 2% a year. I will use a conservative interest rate for the investments of the bank of 4% a year. At the time of the deposit, the bank can place the $10,000 in the central bank and invest $90,000. In 1 year time, your credit has grown to $10,200, while the bank has made a profit of $3,600, so including your $200 interest, the bank can invest an additional $3,800 multiplied by 9. In 2 years' time, your credit has grown to $10,404, while the bank made $7,552. In 3 years' time, your credit has grown to $10,612, while the bank has made $11,874. So in 3 years' time, the bank makes more money from the money you put in your savings account than your total savings. Probably the bank even gets an interest rate for the $10,000 it holds in reserve with the central bank. Insurance companies can use the same cash reserve ratio of, say, 10%. According to the following information, insurance companies settle the bill you pay for only a small fraction. In this example, you pay a medical bill to the insurance company for $100, which the insurance company settles for $20, 20%. The insurance company makes a profit of $80, for which it can invest $720, not even counting your monthly insurance fee. The previous is unfair but not money creation. When you borrow money from the bank, now that's money creation. Don't you think it's strange that when you buy a house, the down payment goes to the bank instead of to the house seller? In this example, you make a down payment of $50,000 for a mortgage loan to buy a $250,000 house. The bank doesn't run any risk with the $50,000, it can already invest $450,000, and of course, they will get the $250,000 plus interest. If you cannot pay, they confiscate your house while you've paid $50,000. The bank simply created $200,000 out of thin air. Of course, the created $200,000 ends up on another bank account for which that bank can invest $1.8 million. And you have to work really hard to earn the created $200,000, which makes you a motivated slave. There used to be a gold standard, where central banks could only create money backed up by gold, or we only had to believe it was backed, but this was abolished in 1971. So central banks can print money without limitations. Central banks can also create money by simply lowering the reserve requirement or lending money to commercial banks. Because banks can almost freely invest money, they can always plunder a company and then file for bankruptcy, keeping the money.
Unregulated crypto assets can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and other illegal activity.
People ask me, well, aren't you worried about the fact that you can buy drugs with this money? As far as I'm concerned, I don't know of any form of money that you can't buy drugs with. More specifically, drugs are the second most traded commodity after food in the world, and have been for the last 150,000 years. And if you couldn't buy drugs with your money, I would argue it's not actually money. So one of the criteria of money is that you can purchase products and services. And if you couldn't purchase the second most traded commodity in the world with them, then it's not really money. The appeal for Silk Road, we need to understand what the appeal for Silk Road is. And the way I put it, in a nutshell, is this. You can't get stabbed over TCP/IP. That's why people buy drugs online, because you can deal with the addiction without the violence. And violence is the main problem with drugs, and that's a problem of prohibition, not of the drugs themselves. You want to deal with Silk Road, deal with healthcare, deal with addiction treatment and the root causes of addiction. Don't try to control the money used to buy something that people obviously need to buy, want to buy, and will continue buying for the rest of history, just like they have been doing for the last 150,000 years. And so you're not going to stop that. Bitcoin is going to be used to buy every product and service that is currently available on the market everywhere in the world, just like every other form of money. And it's going to reflect the values of society. When you have a technology that's brand new and it's flexible enough to overcome barriers, it's going to be used in some of the corners that are the shadiest in society. But as it becomes mainstream, it starts reflecting mainstream societal values. Now in year 5, the primary use of Bitcoin is for charitable donations and tipping. That's what we see from the statistics. And what that says is that the audience has expanded and now is no longer restricted to the shadiest parts. But remember what they said about the internet in 1995, that it was a den of thieves, pornographers, and terrorists, that you would never be able to find anything on it, and that it was full of fraud. And all of those things were true. And it still was the most valuable technology we could build, because the rest of us will use it for good. I've never bought drugs on the internet. I use Bitcoin. I don't use Bitcoin. I don't buy drugs. This drug, however, now this is really addictive stuff. I cannot start my day without at least 20 milligrams of caffeine in my bloodstream. And I'm highly addicted to this stuff. But I can get that at the corner store. Unfortunately, they don't take Bitcoin.
It's funny because it's true.
Economist Nouriel Roubini replied to this tweet saying that this is the first time ever he agrees with Donald Trump. First time I agree with Trump. No country, not even USA, skeptical of excessive regulations, will allow the Wild West scams of unregulated crypto with no AML, KYC, being a bank or money servicer with no bank license, regulations. Get used to it, you crypto fools, scammers. Start to comply or disappear.
We are at a crossroads. And in this crossroads, we have to pick between a future where trust is a decentralized, open protocol that everybody participates in, or a future where trust is controlled by narrower and narrower centralized interests that use that to control our lives and to prevent us from engaging with each other, that create tiers not just of citizen versus non-citizen, but of human versus subhuman, where people are judged by their credit score as unworthy to participate in the global economy, by their lack of identity as unworthy to participate in commerce. And you know what open public blockchains like Bitcoin say? Everyone is worthy. You don't even need to be human to participate. Software agents can do it for you. There is no requirement for ID. There's no requirement to even prove you have a heartbeat. On the internet, no one knows you're a dog. You remember that expression? On Bitcoin, no one knows that your dog is a millionaire. Maybe not. But it's a really interesting future we're building here. We have now, for the first time in history, the ability to scale trust and security to a global level based on an open protocol that no one can corrupt, co-opt, take over, and control. And with that model, we can seek freedom, we can build tremendous applications, software that is unstoppable, speech that is uncensorable, commerce that is not able to be deplatformed or silenced. We will take back the internet. from the companies that can decide that hate speech is okay, but female nipples are terrifying to our children. Do you know what's terrifying to our children? Fascism is terrifying to our children, not nipples. They have a more intimate and natural relationship with nipples for the first 3 years of their life, at least. We should be terrified about the future of our children, but not because they're going to be exposed to nudity, but they're going to be exposed to radicalism. And those same companies that adopt their puritanical morality that you didn't vote for and doesn't match your interests don't give a shit about the environment. They don't give a shit about environmentalism. They don't give a shit about LGBTQ issues. What they do, they put a giant sign with a rainbow that says MasterCard on it. Are you fucking kidding me? Those companies are selling us a fake morality that had been focus grouped and delivered to us packaged in a dopamine-engaging algorithm that will tweak our brain until we are mindless drones. We will take back the internet. We will take back our data. We will take back our privacy, which is a fundamental human right. And we will do all of that by building absolutely unstoppable platforms and protocols for the next frontier in trust and security. Thank you.
Robini said. Economist Nouriel Robini has openly expressed his disdain for all things cryptocurrency by calling it shitcoin, scams etc. at several times. In a post on Twitter, he targeted Ethereum, calling the ICO, which the second largest cryptocurrency, has just a scam. He went further to say the ICO was aimed at filling the pockets of a small group of insiders including Vitalik Buterin. The sale was not a fair one and that crypto is the mother of all scams.
Here's the way I look at it. There is about $100 trillion worth of fiat currency out there.
Okay.
Okay. Fiat currency is poor currency. It's tied to political whims. It's tied to political parties. Bureaucrats control it. It's not really that good for you. And all of the new, best, brightest engineers are working on cryptocurrencies. Okay. And so my belief is that over some period of time, and I don't want to go into it in too great of depth, but over some period of time, the cryptocurrencies will eclipse the fiat currencies. So we're looking at about 1,000 times on what we've got now.
Okay,
yeah.
And the last question. Can you imagine just one day of your life, maybe 5 years in the future, just you wake up and the blockchain completely changed everything? So, how is your day look like?
You're just making me so happy. My day looks so good because we are free people.
Okay.
We are wealthy people. We are prosperous people. And we have far fewer government controls, and we have much more business to do with each other. And I think once they nail identity, all the crypto criminals, they'll go away. And so once that's done, I think we're just going to have a very fluid and free society. And with freedom comes prosperity and wealth, and with heavy regulation, heavy government comes poverty and eventually slavery. So you put a big smile on my face because you said 5 years from now, all of those visions I have for blockchain are coming true.
Okay, thank you for your vision.
Great, I look forward to it. I think it will be extraordinary.
Yeah.
Oh, and our healthcare is going to be much better.
Healthcare,
insurance, real estate, government, banking. Banking, we'll put it all on a ledger or just keep it up in Coinbase. Yeah, they're already kind of reeling from this.
Yeah.
It's just that there are all these uncertainties created by these governments that are run by like the grandparents of the people who are creating this new industry, and they don't get it. And it's very frustrating for the people who are creating the industry. So you have you have these regulators who are 70, 80 years old, and they are the ones telling these 20-something-year-olds what they should be doing, but they're the same people who have given them huge education debt, poor education, not appropriate for their work life, and now they're trying to tell them not to do something that is actually creating a whole new economy. I mean, if I'm a millennial, I'm deeply in debt. I have an education that's not appropriate to the jobs that I have to go find, and I'm kind of, it's like I'm lost. But there's this big opportunity. All of a sudden, there's Bitcoin, there's crypto, there's a whole new world out there that hasn't been destroyed by the regulators. Now the regulators are coming in and they're making it very difficult on people, but any country that gets highly regulated gets poorer, more poverty, and any country that's free gets richer. And I think the US is trying to figure this out. I know Japan has figured out, make it free, make us rich. Japan thinks I have to control and regulate. I mean, China says I've got to control and regulate, and they're going to create a bunch of poverty. So, and it usually takes 20 years, so by that time they've moved on. But they are ruining the lives of many, many people by putting in too many controls or too many restrictions or too many regulations. So when you see the FDA or the SEC or FASB, any of these big institutional regulators come in heavy-handed, they are destroying the potential for growth and wealth in their country.
Right, at least some easier in.
But easier in. Let's let these things flourish. Who knows what creativity is going to come out of these ICOs?
Right.
I mean, when the internet came along, the governments were trying to shut it down. And all of a sudden, think of what's happened with the internet. All of our lives are so much fuller and more interesting and more dynamic. And I remember I'd spend hours and hours waiting for somebody to come pick me up when my car broke down. Now, if your car breaks down, you leave it on the side of the road, you go, boom, I got an Uber. It all happens so quickly. That never would have happened if the internet hadn't happened. So this is, and if we hadn't let the internet go, let it be free. The freer, the richer. Freedom equals prosperity, regulation equals poverty.
The only way to be safe in crypto is to go back to the Stone Age. He took another swipe at crypto security. Poking the idea behind cold storage and paper wallets, he put that the idea of cold storage and paper wallet is exactly like the Stone Age and that crypto is taking us there. Write your private key on a piece of paper and hide it in a mattress and hope you aren't victim of a crypto robber or of paper-eating rats, he said.
Simple rule. If you control the keys, it's your Bitcoin. If you don't control the keys, it's not your Bitcoin. Your keys, your Bitcoin. Not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Your keys, your Bitcoin. Not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Here's the problem. A lot of people have no idea how to even start to decide if they actually control the keys. So let me ask you a question. How many of you control your Bitcoin with your own control over your keys? I'm counting myself here. Very good. How many people do not control their Bitcoin but have it in an online account where somebody else is controlling the Bitcoin? Don't be shy, it's okay, we all started there. Okay. And more importantly, how many people have no idea how to answer that question? You don't know if you control it, right? Okay, so let me give you some advice. If you are running a wallet where each time you do a transaction, it generates a new address. But when you started using that wallet, it told you something like, write down these 12 words or these 24 words and keep them as a backup. Those words They generate all your keys. And the reason you have to write them as a backup is because you are controlling those keys. And if you lose those words, you lose the keys, you lose the Bitcoin. With great power comes great responsibility. If you have a wallet in which you are asked to write down the backup, you control the keys. If you didn't write down the backup, when you go home tonight would be a good time to open the settings, go to backup, and write down those damn 12 words before you lose your phone and drop it in the toilet because you were trying to text while in the bathroom. We all do it. And you dropped it in the toilet and your Bitcoin disappeared because your phone blew up. And then what? You call the Bitcoin help desk? There's no Bitcoin help desk. You go on Reddit and you go, I lost my keys, can someone help me? And what are people going to say? Did you write down the 12 words? You didn't? Sorry for your loss. All right, so how do you know how to do a backup and how to control your own? Now, a lot of people don't know how to start, so I'm going to give you a very quick little tutorial on how to control your own keys. Okay? First of all, what is the most secure device you own? Not your laptop. Definitely not your laptop. How many here have Windows? My sincere condolences. Okay, so you don't own your Windows machines. Your Windows machines are owned by a combination of viruses and Trojans that are controlled by Russian, Chinese hackers somewhere else in the world, but they're not really your machines. They just let you use them occasionally. Do not put Bitcoin on those devices. Right? That's like making a donation to hackers. They have software actively looking for Bitcoin software, and when they find it, they take it. Or they put a keylogger and they wait for you to do a transaction and enter your password, and then they take it. Okay, the most secure device you own is your smartphone. Yes? Android, iOS is the most secure device you own. Operating systems on smartphones are far, far more secure than laptops and desktops, especially Windows. So your smartphone is probably the best place to run a wallet. If you have a lot of money invested in cryptocurrencies or own a lot of Bitcoin, and the word a lot means different things to different people, but if you feel like it's a lot, like if right now I told you your Bitcoin has just been stolen, do you go, I'll get some more? Or do you start crying? Or do you have to have a very difficult conversation with your parents and your spouse about why your kids won't be going to college? So those are variations in the word a lot of crypto, right? If you have a lot of crypto, more than you would be upset to lose, you should buy a hardware wallet. A hardware wallet is a USB device. I can recommend a couple of those. Ledger, Trezor, those are really good. BitcoinTrezor.com, Ledger.com, KeepKey, there's a bunch of others. They're a bit difficult to buy right now because apparently about 1 million people noticed that the Bitcoin price went up and decided to finally join this thing, and then all went out and tried to buy a hardware wallet, so they're out of stock. That's a good problem to have. But a hardware wallet is this little USB device which keeps your Bitcoin keys on a highly secure special purpose device. Even if your computer is absolutely full of viruses and hackers, you can use that device securely because everything happens on the device and the device itself can't be attacked over USB, or it's almost impossible. So buy a hardware wallet. If you can't buy a hardware wallet, download software onto your smartphone. If you have iOS, I could recommend Bread Wallet, or Mycelium, or Copay, or Airbits. If you have an Android wallet, Mycelium, or Copay, or Airbits. I don't work for any of these companies. I haven't taken money from any of these companies. They're just ones that I've used. They've been around for a while. I trust them to be much better than whatever else you're doing right now. Download those wallets, install them on your smartphone. Then when it tells you to make a backup of your 12 to 24 English words, don't get smart, don't get fancy, don't say, well, I'll write 3 of the words here, then I'll take the other 3 words, reverse them, put them in my phone book, hide them in my library, give them to my cup. Don't get fancy. Paper, pencil, write down the 12 to 24 words. The chances that someone's going to get hold of that and know what it is, pretty slim. Put it in a drawer, lock it. Put it in a safe, lock it. And then you can use your phone, and if you lose your phone, you have the words. If you lose the words, you have your phone. Both are equivalent. Anytime you want, restore from those words. All of your transactions, all of your money you get back. Now you control your cryptocurrency. These wallets, many of them, Jax is another one if you have multiple currencies, not just Bitcoin. If you have Ether, Dash, Monero, Zcash, LTC, whatever, Jax, J-A-X-X.
Exodus?
Exodus? Never heard of it. I don't know if it's a... That doesn't mean it's not good. I'm just saying I haven't personally heard of it. Okay, so download one of those wallets, write down the phrases, pencil on paper. Right? If our civilization ended tomorrow, in 1 month, 2 months, all of the CDs, DVDs, hard drives, USB drives would be dust. Okay, maybe not 3 months, but 3,000 years, dust. We're still finding paper from the Egyptians. Paper lasts. Yes? Paper. Don't put it on a USB drive. Paper. Simple, acid-free paper will last for hundreds of years. If you're extra paranoid, you laminate it so that it cannot get destroyed by water. You buy a very inexpensive, fireproof safe from your office store. You put it inside so it can't be burned. Flood, fire, theft, covered. Now, on that kind of system, a wallet, hardware wallet with your backup words, you can store, I know people who store millions of dollars, I'm not joking, on exactly that kind of system. Once you have control of your Bitcoin, it doesn't matter if there's a fork. It doesn't matter if your exchange decides to go one way or another. It doesn't matter. You should not be keeping your money on an exchange. You should not be keeping your money and trust someone else to keep it safe for you. That's just a bank. And part of the reason we're doing this open blockchain is because we don't trust banks.